The battle behind them, the Moondancer continues toward the vast astral vortex, marking the entrance to Doomspace. The crew is battered and exhausted, but for once, there is no enemy on the horizon, no weapons firing, and no immediate threat demanding their attention. After everything they have endured, the quiet feels almost unnatural. Seylan knows her duty ends here. Her crimson dragon slows beside the Moondancer, and Elena expects a final farewell. Instead, Seylan leans down and kisses her. Elena freezes. By the time she gathers her thoughts, Seylan is already turning away.
Wait, where are you going?
Seylan looks back, confused. Indignant, Elena says,
You didn't even give me a chance to say goodbye.
Seylan smiles.
I just did.
And with that, she turns her dragon toward the astral sea and disappears into the distance, leaving Elena standing on deck, stunned and thoroughly disgruntled. The crew soon learns they still have several days before reaching the outer rim of Doomspace, giving them time to repair the Moondancer and recover from the battle. Before they settle in for the night, however, Donnie suddenly remembers something. He heads over to the last breath and finds the vampire Captain Grimzod Garganhale on the deck.
Grimzod, I have an idea of how to become more efficient in battle. Can I have some alchemist's fire?
Donnie asks with a wide grin. Grimzod looked dumbfounded at him and replies,
No.
Confused, Donnie starts bargaining.
Can I buy some?
No.
Can I borrow some?
No.
Can I...
Garganhale cuts off Donnie.
I said no.
Please hear me out.
Garganhale finally turns toward him.
Why?
Donnie explains his plan. He wants to wrap his fists in cloth soaked with alchemist's fire, light them, and see whether he can punch things while his hands are on fire. Garganhale simply stares at him.
You know what? Sure. Of course you can.
And he points towards one of the rowboats.
Take that. Go far away from the ship and do whatever it is you're planning.
Donnie's face lights up with joy as he exclaims,
Absolutely fantastic.
A short while later, Oti, Argent and Garganhale stand at the rail of the last breath, watching Donnie row farther and farther into the astral sea. Once he is safely away, Donnie carefully dabs the alchemist's fire onto the wraps around his fists, before looking back toward the ship.
Does anyone have a lighter?
Oti sighs and snaps his fingers. A tiny flame appears. The rowboat immediately disappears in a spectacular green explosion. For a moment, there is nothing but a rapidly expanding cloud of alchemist's fire where Donnie and the boat were supposed to be. Then Donnie comes tumbling out of it, singed, bruised, and helplessly drifting through wild space, while pieces of the rowboat fled away in several different directions. Back on the last breath, everyone simply stares. Garganhale looks at Oti. Oti looks at Argent. Argent looks back at Garganhale. Nobody has anything to say. Eventually, Oti pulls on his ornate survival suit, flies after Donnie, and drags him back aboard. Donnie is alive and completely unrepentant. The crews finally decide that they have had enough excitement for one evening and head to bed. The following days pass quietly. They repair the Moondancer, tend to the wounded, and keep watch as they travel deeper toward Doomspace. During the journey, they encounter a strange celestial being drifting through the astral sea. It resembles an angel and carries an enormous orb of radiant light. The creature explains that it is gathering stardust for its god, carrying out a duty it has performed for longer than it can remember. When asked about Doomspace, however, its demeanor changes. It warns them to stay away. Doomspace is a dying system, destined to collapse upon itself, and whatever fate awaits those who enter is not something the Celestial wishes to approach. When they ask for its name, the being admits that it has none. Pressed for something by which they can refer to it, it simply accepts the first name it hears before continuing on its way, carrying its great sphere of light into the darkness. That night, the moon dancer sails beneath a silent field of stars. Oti is the first to notice the woman. She is walking calmly along the railing as though she has always belonged there, translucent and ethereal, surrounded by a strange light. Oti has seen her before in dreams during the fever that followed the Illithid attack. Argent has seen her too when Bollen was thrown overboard and he made a promise to protect the ram with everything he had. Oti quietly draws Argent and Donnie's attention to her, and together they approach. For Donnie, this is the first time he has seen the mysterious woman. Completely fascinated, he reaches out to touch her, only for his hand to pass through the shimmering light surrounding her. The woman turns her attention to Oti. She does not ask what his mission is, as though she already knows the answer. Instead, she tries to understand whether Oti knows it himself. Was he formally trained? What path had he chosen, and what did he believe he was supposed to accomplish? Oti admits that his training was little more than a crash course. He has a manual, though he has barely read it. As for his purpose, he has mostly treated druidic magic as something practical, a way to acquire food, supplies, and other useful things. The woman gently presses him beyond those material concerns, as though trying to make him understand that he has mistaken the means for the purpose. The woman introduces herself as Izzy and reveals that she is a star. Her kind travels through the astral sea to systems that have lost their stars, bringing light, life and longevity to worlds that would otherwise wither in darkness. She has been searching for a system where she is needed. Then she explains Bollen's role. The ram is her vessel. Donnie looks at Bollen, then back at her.
So, you're the ram?
But no, Bollen is still Bollen. He has his own mind, nature and identity. She simply travels through him, accompanied by her shepherd, Oti. For perhaps the first time, Oti begins to understand what his purpose actually is. Izzy looks toward Doomspace with quiet sadness. This is what happens when a system loses its star. It begins to die. There is nothing she can do for Doomspace now. Such is the nature of the universe. Stars die, systems wither, and new stars are born elsewhere. But another system might still be saved. Argent immediately sees the possibility. If they destroy the ancient star at the heart of the astral elf system, perhaps Izzy could take its place. They could stop the ritual, save the worlds being drained, and perhaps save the astral elves as well. Argent wakes Elena, and Zidali soon joins them. Both are suspicious of the strange woman who has appeared aboard their ship, but neither can ignore what Izzy is proposing. Zidali explains that her father had been dying when he merged with the ancient star. Perhaps his attempt to transcend his mortal form had done something unnatural to it. His final wish had been that Zidali and her brother rule the astral empire together, but her brother broke that promise and seized the throne. Zidali remains subdued as they discuss the possibility of saving the astral elves. She does not seem particularly excited by the prospect. Argent cannot help sensing that reclaiming the throne and becoming empress may matter more to her than saving the star itself. It is only a suspicion, but he cannot ignore it. Zidali then reveals that she carries a ring of shooting stars. With it, they may be able to disrupt the ritual while it is underway. Izzy cannot promise that replacing the star will work. There are too many unknowns, but it is possible. For the first time since Lyra fell, the crew can see a third path. Izzy quietly fades into the darkness of the astral sea, leaving them with more questions than answers. During the quiet days that follow, Argent asks Oti for help with the plants and poison he has been experimenting with. Together, they examine the strange growth, testing the soil and adjusting Argent's methods. Oti notices details that Argent has overlooked. while Argent approaches the problem with his usual precision. For a while, there is no talk of war or doomspace, just two very different minds trying to make something grow. Eventually, the outer rim of doomspace comes into view. Ahead stretches the shattered spine, an immense field of asteroids and broken fragments surrounding the dying system. The Moondancer and the Last Breath enter carefully, keeping their course quiet and avoiding unnecessary attention. Their first destination is Arun, the closest moon. A weak, magical distress signal reaches them. Warwick, Commodore Crox's friend and former crew member. The Moondancer changes its course immediately. Arun is almost entirely covered in dense jungle, and the Moondancer cannot safely descend. Commodore Crox, Elena, Argent, Oti and Donnie take a small docking craft toward the surface and follow Warwick's voice until they find him trapped against a wall of rock, surrounded by strange plant creatures. Their bodies are made of fibrous plant matter, with long, stalk-like necks supporting strange heads. Argent raises a hand, attempting to calm them, and asks Oti if he can speak with them. Oti tries, but he can no longer understand their language. He will have to relearn it, and that will take time. There is no time now. The creatures attack. Elena fires, while Oti supports the others with druidic magic. Argent picks his shots as Donnie charges directly into the creatures. Several Artuks seize Warwick and begin dragging him upward, trying to pull him over the ridge and away from the crew. Argent and Elena concentrate their fire on the creatures holding him, forcing them to release. Donnie sees his opening. He grabs two of the creatures by their extended stalks, tears them free, and swings them into the others. The absurd display scatters the remaining Artuks, and the larger creature eventually collapses beneath the crew's combined assault. Crack! Rumbling sounds all around the crew as the ground begins to shake. A colossal Tarrasque erupts from beneath the jungle, throwing trees, soil, and stone into the air. The force of its emergence sends everyone upward, and Elena injures her leg as they are thrown into the sky. The creature rises beneath them until they find themselves standing on the edge of its enormous mouth, the great lips curving beneath their feet as it lifts its head toward the sky. Against the vastness of the beast, they look impossibly small. Above them, Commodore Crox immediately brings the docking craft around. Donnie quickly ties a rope around Elena and throws her upward. She reaches for the vessel, but falls just short and begins to descend. Argent runs toward Donnie, steps onto his shoulders, and launches himself past Elena. He catches Crox's arm and throws a lasso around Elena's wrist. Suddenly, they are connected. Crox holding Argent, Argent holding Elena, and Elena tied to Donnie below. Crox pulls with all his might as Oti gives Warwick a final push, and Warwick barely catches the side of the docking craft. Oti turns gaseous and drifts upward. The Tarrasque's jaws snap shut beneath them as the enormous creature sinks back into the jungle. The docking craft races away. Warwick is alive. Elena, however, has suffered serious damage to her leg, and without a skilled healer, the injury may be permanent. Once Warwick has recovered enough to speak, he explains what brought him to Arun. He and his crew had come hoping to establish contact with the Artuks as part of the effort to build a coalition against the Astral Elves. 4 of his crew members are presumed dead after the galleon left without them.
Their next destination is Vokath. The influential businessman has become a gathering point for the factions of Doomspace. Prince Amdur is there as well, attempting to convince the divided clans to unite against the Astral Empire. The Moondancer and the Last Breath continue together through Doomspace, keeping their movements quiet. Eventually, Vokath comes into view, a vast space station built around an extravagant palace, its docks crowded with ships belonging to countless factions. The delegation goes ashore: Argent, Oti, Donnie, Elena, and Princess Zedali. Guards stop them at the palace entrance, questioning the unusual group before allowing them through.
They pass through grand halls until the passage opens into an enormous circular chamber. The room is packed with representatives from the clans of Doomspace. They argue across tables, negotiate in small groups, drink, eat, and loudly dispute their competing interests. The gathering feels less like a council and more like a marketplace, where everyone is trying to convince everyone else that their concerns matter most. At the far end sits Vokath, reclining comfortably in an ornate chair with a drink in his hand. While the room around him descends into argument, he looks almost amused by it all. Before him stands Prince Amdur. The prince is already pleading with Vokath to support the coalition against the Astral Empire, but Vokath seems only mildly interested. When he notices the newcomers, Amdur turns toward them with visible relief. The crew approaches and explains what they have witnessed on Lyra, the worlds being drained by the Astral Empire and Zaleth's plan. They explain that Zedali has turned against her brother and that they may have discovered a way to stop the ritual without sacrificing the Astral Elves' homeworld. Zedali stands beside them, her presence making their story difficult to dismiss. Oti briefly attempts to mention the possibility of establishing trade routes and economic cooperation. The others quickly shut him down. This is not about trade. They need to stop Zeleth. Vokath swirls his drink and considers them. He has heard grand promises before. Doomspace is full of people claiming they can unite its factions, defeat their enemies, and change the balance of power. Prince Amdur has spent considerable time making the same argument. Vokath gestures toward the squabbling clans surrounding them.
You want all of them to fight together?
Prince Amdur insists that they must, else the Astral Empire will come for them as well. Vokath takes another drink.
Perhaps. But first, I would like to see what these newcomers can actually do. They look like combatants.
Vokath stands and leads the delegation to an arena.
If you want our help and attention, perhaps you should earn it.
The crew accepts the challenge. The arena floor descends, transforming the chamber into a vast circular battlefield surrounded by balconies. The gathered clans take their places above them, eager for entertainment. Vokath's booming voice announces the spectacle. The crew knows exactly what they need to do. Make the fight memorable. Argent draws his 2 revolver bayonets, swivels them through a flourish, and crosses the blades with a sharp zing before cocking both weapons. Donnie rolls his shoulders, cracks his knuckles, and adjusts his brass knuckles with a crooked smile. Elena steadies herself despite the pain in her injured leg. She draws her pistol and smoothly unsheathes her scimitar. Then Oti tears open his shirt, exposing his bare chest, sticks out his tongue, and shakes his head wildly.
Wah!
The crowd cheers for the others, then falls briefly silent around Oti. A few people cheer anyway. Oti seems delighted. The gates open slowly as 2 enormous twin brothers emerge, each with 4 arms and massive weapons. The crowd erupts as the brothers advance together, speaking to each other in deep, lumbering voices. Donnie charges one, while Argent moves to separate the other. Elena provides covering fire, and Oti unleashes lightning and druidic magic. The first troll swings. Donnie ducks beneath the blow and drives a brass-knuckled fist into its stomach. Across the arena, Argent circles his opponent, firing before slipping away from each enormous strike. Oti unleashes spores that blind one of the twins, allowing Argent to close in. But the spell breaks, and the troll tears a boulder from the arena floor and hurls it at him. The impact sends Argent crashing through the sand, sparks bursting from his mechanical body. The other twin sees his brother fall beneath Donnie's assault and screams,
Brother!
Donnie, Elena, and Oti overwhelm him while Argent recovers. Then, Argent charges. He fires twice, leaps and drives both revolver bayonets into the troll's eyes, using his weight to send the creature crashing onto its back. The arena explodes with cheers. The next challenger is Brutus, one of Vokath's great fighters. The enormous warrior enters carrying a massive sword, and the crowd erupts at the sight of him. Donnie meets him head-on, while Argent and Elena attack from opposite sides. Oti supports them with magic. For a moment, they have Brutus surrounded. Then, 4 enormous creatures burst from beneath the arena floor. The fight instantly becomes chaos. One of the creatures swallows Oti whole. Argent fires into it, while Elena rushes forward despite her injured leg and drives her scimitar into its throat. From inside, Oti unleashes Chill Touch. Necrotic energy tears through the creature's stomach, and Oti bursts out covered in green slime. He looks around, tears open his shirt, and throws his head back.
Wow, what a rush!
And the crowd goes absolutely wild with excitement. Argent and Elena bring down another creature, while Oti unleashes lightning against a third. Meanwhile, Donnie remains locked in combat with Brutus. The enormous warrior swings his sword. Donnie ducks beneath it and drives his fists into him again and again. Argent sees an opening. He sprints toward the arena wall, runs several steps along it, and launches himself into the air. He lands on Brutus's shoulders, drives a knee into his neck, and fires downward. Brutus roars and throws him aside. But Donnie is already moving. He charges and delivers the final strike. Brutus crashes into the sand, and the crowd erupts again. The crew stands battered and exhausted, but Vokath is watching them now. They have his attention. Amidst the shouting and cheers of the audience, the final gate begins to rise. Slowly the crowd falls silent, and from the gate, a tiny space flumph waddles into the arena. Everyone stares. Even Vokath looks confused.
This must be a mistake.
He pauses, then smiles.
Don't worry, I'll fix this.
As something moves behind the flumph, a massive shadow stretches across the sand, and a gigantic megapede emerges from the darkness, its enormous segmented body uncoiling across the arena. Dozens of spined legs scrape against the sand as its great mandibles snap around the tiny creature. The flumph barely has time to react before the megapede devours it. The arena explodes in a roar of cheering. The crew stares upward. Argent raises his revolvers. Donnie discovers his brass knuckles have broken. Elena grips her scimitar, and Oti, still covered in green slime, looks up at the enormous creature. For once, nobody has a joke. The megapede lowers its head. The sand trembles beneath its weight as it screeches so loud that no other sound can be heard. The final battle begins.